good. Today's good. So okay. So this is the time to the studies about chapter 7. So last time we have a studies government interventions, which is about imposing the taxes and subsidies on the buyers and sellers, right? So today we are going to talk about chapter 7, which is about welfare and efficiency. Okay, so in these chapters, we will focus on the measuring the surplus and market efficiency. Okay, so first we need to talk about how we evaluate the public policies. Evaluating public policy. Okay, so public policies can make by the government. Okay, so after the make the public policies, we can analyze by using two ways. There are two ways to evaluate public policy, right? So one is the positive analysis. Okay. Another one is normative analysis. Okay. There are two ways to evaluate public policies. So what are they? What are they? The positive analysis is purely objective analysis. So it is used to describe and predict effectiveness of the policies, right? Um, so positive analysis is purely objective analysis. Okay, so it can describe and forecasting effect of policy. Describe and forecast effect of policy. Okay. Right? So for example, if the government raises the taxes, right? So we can evaluate this policy, right? So for example, so the wages that people can buy or save are reduced. What was that? It it does not contain any personal opinions, right? So this is objective assessment of policy, right? So this is the example of positive analysis, right? So what is the normative analysis? Normative analysis is the in terms of the value judgment. Okay. Okay. This is the normative. Normative analysis is the kinds of analysis that reflect the individual values. So you can ask the what's the better and what should happen. Okay? So what should better, which is the better, and what should happen. Should happen. Right? So it is to integrate opinions and underline the morals and evaluate them. For example, there's a sentences we need to protect environment. Okay, so if you look at these sentences, what we can realize that this is a normative analysis. Okay, so how about these sentences? The price that equal wages are unfair. Is it normative analysis or positive analysis? Normative analysis, right? So let's take a look at the examples in PowerPoint. Okay, so let's take a look at these kinds of practice questions in PowerPoint, pages 8. So which of the following claims involve the positive analysis and which reflect the normative analysis? Okay, so number A, the lower college tuitions will lead more children from the poor families to attend the college. Okay, now there is no individuals' opinions, right? So it is kinds of positive analysis. Okay. Second one is the college tuition should be lower so that students from the poor peoples can afford it. It is normative. Okay. C, the average American's taxpayers pay around 15% of their income in federal income taxes. It's just fact, right? So we can realize that it is a positive analysis. How about D? The income taxes are too high and the federal government should cut them. Okay, it is normative. Okay, normative analysis. Okay. Now let's compare the efficiency and equity, which is the fairness. Okay. Okay, so a typical example is the size of a pie. So we can think the size of pies can be considered the economic surplus. Okay, so in terms of efficiency, efficiency refers to the use of all the scarcity resources you have. Okay, so in this case, let's think about size of a pie, right? So in terms of efficiency, they focus on the expanding the pie, okay? Because, okay, if we think about efficiency, efficiency refers to use of all the resources we have in the world, right? So if we think about the PPL curve, okay, PPL curve, just like this. Okay, PPL curve shows the relationship between two products, right? So this one is all thing is the opportunity cost you have, right? So in this case, if we think about the point on the PPA curve, okay, it is the in this case you can use the pool resources you have, right? So this is the if so we have runabout. This one is efficiency, right? So efficiency is the just using the all resources you have. Okay, so if we think about the PPA curve, if we use the most resources possible, okay, the points are distributed up the right. Okay, so economic surplus is at its maximum. Okay, so this is why we have expanding the pie, right? So socially, the more efficient it is, the more economic surplus it is, right? So we have larger pie in society, right? So in this case, more economic surplus, okay, and more efficient. Okay, are you with me? Okay, okay. How about fairness? Right? The fairness is equity. Okay, so fairness ignore the efficiency usually. Okay, instead they focus on the equitable distributions of economic surpluses. Okay, so even though they have the small pie, okay, but they want to distribute it equally. Okay, so each pie size are same. Okay, so that is equity. So in case of equity, okay, usually ignore efficiency. Okay, so they distribute it fairly. So this is the equity. Okay, so these two things are very important political issue. Okay, So one part would like to distribute equally. On the other hand, other parts would like to expand the pie, right? So um, in terms of these kinds of issues, you can think about which one is better, okay? Okay, now we will study how to measure economic surplus. So here's we will focus on the consumer surplus and producer surplus. Okay, the consumer surplus refers to the satisfaction or profit that consumers have. So in other words, consumer surplus is a remainder of the price you want to pay minus the market price. Okay, so in terms of the consumer surplus, okay, so that means that we can think about the willingness to pay minus market price. Okay? To pay at each price minus market price. Okay, so if you think about demand curve, okay, here is the price, okay, here is the quantity demanded. So we have the demand curve, which is down sloping, right? And if we think about this one is market price. Market price. Okay. As you know that at each price, these points are willingness to pay of consumers, right? This one is willingness to pay for consumers, right? So the price you pay is all the points on the line, right? And because you pay the price and you get that much marginal profit. Okay, so this is why the demand curve is a marginal profit curve. Okay, so the price we're going to pay is marginal profit you get when you buy a unit of the something. Okay, so the willingness to pay is actually your marginal benefit. Okay, so how can you think about this one? The consumer surplus, I will just express as CS, is your marginal benefit minus market price, right? So let's think about this graph. Let's think about this graph. Okay, so each one is your willingness to pay at each price. Okay, and this gap is what? For one unit is your consumer surplus. Okay, this is one unit consumer surplus, one unit consumer surplus, one unit consumer surplus, one unit consumer surplus. So there's a lot of the willingness to pay at each price. Okay, just like this. Here, 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 here. Okay, so a lot of the consumer surplus. So we have the whole consumer surplus, right? So this is why we have consumer surplus is marginal benefit minus price. Okay, are you with me? Okay, so the area, in the end, this area of the triangles, we can call consumer surplus. Okay, the consumer surplus place what? Below the demand curve and above the market price. Okay, so how can you find the area of triangle? Okay, what was that? Area of a triangle is height times base times 1/2, right? So that's formula for getting an area of a triangle. Okay, so let's think about the quantity is 200, and here is 120. The market price is 50, right? So what is the base? 200. Okay, 200. So what is the height? Height is 120 minus 50. Okay, so consumers' willingness to pay is up to 120. It means, right? So 120 minus 50 times. So we need to multiply 1/2. What was that? 70 times 200 times 1/2. What was that? It is 7,000. Okay, which is the consumer surplus amount. Okay, so this is the way to get the consumer surplus. Okay. Okay, so we can define what is the consumer surplus. Consumer surplus is graphically consumer surplus is represented by areas below demand curve at same times above equilibrium price. Okay, which is the market price. Okay, that is a consumer surplus. Okay, any questions about this? Okay, so now we will study about producer surplus. So producer surplus also means that the profits that the producers has, right? So producer surplus okay. So it means that it is the actually market price minus their willingness to sell at each price. Okay, that is a consumer surplus. So the price that the producer wants to sell minus market price in the producer surplus. Okay, so we can think about supply curve. Okay, here is the market price. Okay, how shape the surplus curve? Upward sloping, right? Because of a low supply. Market price is here. The supply curve will be like this, right? Do you agree? This one is supply curve. Okay, so as you know that supply curve is the marginal cost curve. Okay, marginal cost curve, correct? So if we think about producer surplus, so each point on the surplus is willing to sell at each price, right? So this one here is the many supply would like to sell the products until this lower price, correct? So from below this price, it would be what? It would be, they will not sell the product at it's below this price. Okay, so they will shut down. Okay, so at each price, and these gaps would be so at each product, the product surplus they will get. Okay, and this would be surplus, this would be surplus, this would be product surplus, this would be consumer surplus. So this would be product surplus. Okay, so at each price, these triangles would be, these rectangles would be what? The product surplus that we get, right? So there's a lot of the product surplus. So in the end, this whole triangle would be producer surplus. So I will express it as PS, right? So we can express it as this like this, price minus marginal cost, right? Do you agree? So let's say that this quantity, market quantity is 200, and this price is, let's say that $10, and the market price, as you know, that $50. Okay, so how can you find height first? $50 minus $10, which is the height, times quantity, which is the 200, times, don't forget that, 1/2. Okay, because we need to find area of a triangle, right? So what is that? $40 times 200 times 1/2. What was that? $4,000, which is a product surplus. Okay, so remind that the product surplus is the market price minus marginal cost. Okay, that is the product surplus. Okay, so graphically, the product surplus is presented by the area above the supply curve and below the equilibrium point, equilibrium price. Correct? So consumer surplus, sorry, product surplus is graphically, product surplus is presented by areas below the equilibrium price and same time above supply curve. Okay, correct? So in the end, economic surplus, we need to find economic surplus. Economic surplus is the sum of the product surplus and consumer surplus. Okay, so economic surplus is consumer surplus plus producer surplus. Okay, so what was the consumer surplus? Consumer surplus is marginal benefit minus price, marginal benefit, MB, minus market price. What was the producer surplus? Producer surplus is price minus marginal cost, right? So plus price minus marginal cost. Okay, so each price is cancelled out, okay? And we have marginal benefit minus marginal cost. Okay, so eventually the marginal benefit minus marginal cost is called economic surplus. Okay, so we can compare the marginal benefit and the marginal cost. Okay, so if we think about the rational rule, okay, we just compare the marginal benefit and marginal cost. So if the marginal benefit is greater than equal to marginal cost, okay, they will choose to make a choice. Okay, so for consumers, they will consume their products at the price, and on the other hand, the sellers would like to sell, right, based on the rational rule. Okay, Okay, so in the end, if we think about graphically, economic surplus is what? Economic surplus is sum of the product surplus and consumer surplus. So here is a demand curve, here is a supply curve. Supply, here's demand curve. Okay. And this point where the supply and demand curve meet each other, equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity. Okay. We have so P star and Q star. Okay. So which one is the consumer surplus? Consumer surplus is placed below the demand curve and above the equilibrium price. So here is consumer surplus, right? This triangle, right? Where is the product surplus? Product surplus placed above the supply curve, at the same time below the market price. Okay. Here, the green one is product surplus, correct? So here is a big triangle would become economic surplus. Big surplus, okay? Correct? Right? So let me give you examples. Do you know the famous singer's name is Rihanna? So it's very famous for the song work. So work like this, right? So let's say the album sold by 10 million copies at $1.25 per album. Okay? So sold 10 million copies for $1.25 per album. Okay? So let's do the graph. In this case, we want to find the consumer surplus. Okay? So let's figure out what consumer surplus is. So demand curve looks like this, and market price is $1.29. So many consumers would like to pay up to $3.29. Okay. So here's the quantity is 10 million. Right? So how can you find consumer surplus? Let's find. The consumer surplus area of consumer surplus is area space times height times one half. Okay, so this one is height, this one is space. Correct? What is height? $3.29 minus $1.28 times what? Base 10 million times one half. Okay, so what was that? $2 times 10 million album times one half, which is the $10 million. Okay, this is the consumer surplus of Rihanna's album. Okay, so the singer sings Rihanna's albums can generate about $10 million in consumer surplus. It's an amazing amount, right? So I will give you another example. Let's look at how to get the economic surplus. Okay, so here's another example. Let's look at how to get the economic surplus, which is the sum of the consumer surplus and product surplus. Okay, another example is surplus curve supply curve and here's demand curve. Okay, and here's a equilibrium point. Okay, let's say that the market price is $6 and market quantity is 15. Okay. Okay, so uh, consumers would like to pay until $10. Suppliers would like to sell on up to $2. Okay, so below the $2, it would be a shutdown, right? So how can you find consumer surplus and producer surplus? Okay, and total surplus, which is the consumer surplus. Every in-person class, I just let the students to calculate this each consumer surplus and total surplus at the um, this whiteboard. Okay, but this class is online class. Okay, so I will give you an answer. Uh, at first, where is the consumer surplus? So reminder consumer surplus replace the below the demand curve. So this here is the consumer surplus, and product surplus is placed above the consumer surplus. Above the supply curve. So here is the product surplus, right? Correct. So how can you find consumer surplus? Its base is 50, right? Times height is 10 minus 6, correct? $10 minus 6 times 1/2. What is that? 50 times $4 times 1/2. It is the $30, correct? How about product surplus? Base is the same. Okay, height is $6 minus $2 times 1/2. Okay, so 50 times 4 times 1/2, same, $30. So as you know that economic surplus is a sum of the producer surplus and the consumer surplus. Okay, so total surplus is consumer surplus plus producer surplus. So $30 plus $30, we have $60. Now, let's look at the market efficiency. The market efficiency, as you know, is efficient when you use all of the scarce resources given. Okay, if we think about PPI curve, we can understand what it is. So, efficiency causes more economic surplus, and same times, efficiency can cause the minimize the marginal cost. Okay, so when is a surplus most efficient? Let's think about supply curve. Let's think about supply side. So what was the product surplus? The product surplus is marginal cost minus market price. Sorry, the market price minus marginal cost. Okay, and then we know from the PPI curve, okay, that if we use all of our resources, the points are on the line. Okay, so that means the marginal cost is equal to price. Okay, are you with me? So then we know that the marginal cost is efficient when it's equal to market price. So let's look at the graph to see what this means. Okay, so let's say that Harry and Potter produce the 3 and 7 drinks. 3 and 7 drinks. Then we have two supply curves. The blue one is a Harry's supply curve, and Potter's is a lead line. Okay, Potter's supply curve is a lead line. So if the Harry were to supply it at the marginal cost of $1.5 in here, which is a C point, the porters could offer a drinks at the cost of $2.2. Okay, so if the Harris would like to supply at this B point, alternatively, porters can supply the last quantity supplied, right? So at the same time, Harry would like to the supply at the $1.5. Porters will supply the more higher price. Okay, porters will supply at the more higher price at the C point. Okay, that is alternative point at each other, right? So if we think about B, okay, so for Harry, Harry is the provides the supply, provides the quantity supplied at the higher price, which is the higher than market price, $2, right? At the same time, porters will provide the quantity supplied less at the price, which is less than $2. Correct? How about C? At this point, porters will spend the marginal cost, which is higher than market price. And this price for Harry will provide the quantity supplied at the price which is less than $2, right? Correct? So in this case, porters and Harry are paying the marginal cost that higher than the market price of $2 or less than the marginal market price of $2. Okay, so so we can realize that it is not efficient, right? So what is the efficient point? As you know that marginal cost is equal to price. Where is it? This line. If the point is on this line, we can realize that it is efficient, okay? Which is the marginal cost equal to price. Okay? So Harry and porters can provide the quantity supplied at $2. In this case, in the market, they are efficient points. Okay? So A is efficient, but B and C is not efficient. Okay? So we can realize that efficient productions minimize the cost. At the same time, everyone can lose the marginal cost. They lost marginal cost. Okay, so if we think about A points, okay, which are the efficient points, everyone will get the lowest marginal cost. Okay. Okay, so demand sides are the same, right? So when the Gabriel and Peters are in the demand for tomatoes in the market, right? So we will see the when one will be most effective. So we will see the which one is the efficient allocation. Okay, demand side is if there is some efficient demand. If we think about efficient allocation. Okay, so let's do the graph. But there are two people. So as we know that market price $2, and we have a two demand curve. which one is the Gabriel demand curve. Another one is Peters demand curve. Okay, so I let the A point. Here is a B. Here is a C. Here's a B. Here's a C. Right? So that is an example of C, C, B, C. Okay, so when the Gabriel and Peters are in the demand for the tomato in the market, we will see that which one will be most effective. Okay, so if the Gabriels wants to have the stuff at the $2.5 in here, which is the B point, okay, he gets the higher marginal benefits at this $2.5. But Peters get the lower marginal benefits at the $1.8, which is less than $2, right? So alternatively, the Peters will choose the B and C depending on the Gabriel's demand, right? So in this case, B and C are inefficient way, right? Because at the B point, Gabriel can more benefits, but Peters get less the marginal benefits at the same time, right? So the marginal benefit is equal to marginal price in this case, which is the RA, which is the A point. In this case, they will get the what? Efficient allocation. Okay. So for efficient allocation, marginal benefits equal to price. So we can realize that A is efficient point, but B and C would be inefficient. Okay? So we can conclude that efficient allocation can maximize profits. So everyone gets highest marginal benefit. Okay, that is conclusions. Any questions about this? So in competitive markets, through the efficient productions, suppliers can supply at the lowest cost, and through the efficient distribution, consumers can provide highest profit. Okay, so in competition market, comparative market, efficient production, okay, at lowest cost. Okay, at the same time, there's efficient allocation. Okay, at highest profits. Okay, so we can understand why the rational rule can get the highest economic surplus. So what was the rational rule for market? Market. What was that? Marginal benefits equal to greater than marginal cost. So if there is a marginal benefits, many companies would like to enter the market. Okay, so marginal benefits will the decrease and decrease. Okay, so if we think about that, if the marginal benefit is equal to marginal cost, which is the point where we can highest economic surplus. Okay, so in this case, highest economic surplus with what? Maximizing quantity. Okay. Okay, so let's think about the graph in the market. Okay, we have the supply curve and demand curve. Okay. So let's think about this point here. So as you know that demand curve is marginal benefit curve and supply curve is marginal cost curve. Okay, so each point is a marginal benefit. On the supply curve, each point would be marginal cost. Okay, so how about this? This one is marginal benefit, right? And this one is marginal cost. So what was that? In this point, marginal benefit is greater than marginal cost, right? So in the market, there's a marginal benefits. Many companies would like to enter the market, right? Because, and we can think about that, it is an inefficient point, inefficient way, inefficient allocation, right? So how about this? In this point, marginal cost is greater than marginal benefits. Okay? So in this case, many companies would like to go out from the market. Okay? So it is also inefficient. So where is the efficient way, efficient point? Here. Okay? This point is marginal benefit equal to marginal cost. Okay? So at this point, we have the highest economic surplus and maximizing quantity. Okay. Finally, let's look at the market failure and the government failure. So at first, we will see what is the market failure with the dead values. So when the market is left untouched without government interventions, sometimes factors that interfere with the market order appear, okay, causing the market failure. Okay, so in these kinds of market failures cause the inefficient outcomes in the market. Okay. Outcomes. Okay. So what is the factors which can cause the market failure? First one is market power. Okay. What is the market power? The market power is that if you have some powers that can control the price in the market, that is the market power. Okay, so this is the case of the monopoly. Usually, monopoly is just one seller in the market. Okay, so they can adjust their price, so which is the market price, right? So in this case, we have inefficient outcomes because they usually underproduction with the highest price, higher price. Okay. Example is monopoly. So in this case, we have inefficient outcomes, okay, compared to the competitive market. Okay, so if we think about competitive market, there are a lot of the producers and sellers, producers and consumers, so they cannot adjust the price. Okay, so they are because they are price takers, right? But in case of a monopoly, they can adjust the price because of higher market power. Okay, so second one is negative externalities. Negative externality. Okay. So what is a negative externality? So I will tell in terms of the externalities in the later after these chapters. So this is the same as a side effect. Okay, it is kinds of side effects. Okay, so for example, the factories, there are some factories in the United States. The factories creates what air pollutions when they make some coal, okay, which is the kinds of resources. Okay, let's think about coal. Okay, so in the process of making the coals, they will produce some air pollutions, right? So it causes air pollution. So what happened after this? Usually um, air pollutions harm your health status, right? So factories create air pollutions when they make the core, which is intentionally harm your health status. The externality effect when you intentionally harm others, right? So that is kinds of externalities. So these kinds of negative externalities caused inefficient outcomes, right? The third one is information problem. To be specific, if we have the information asymmetric informations, there are some problems. For example, if we think about used car market, the used car market is the kinds of lemon market. So the sellers knows the conditions of the used car, but consumers do not know, right? So you can buy the cars that's not in good conditions, right? And you lose the trust in the seller. So that is a problem. So it causes the inefficient outcomes. Okay, so this is why we have the market failure. Okay, so finally there is a government regulation. Okay, we run about government regulation last time, didn't we? Right. So there's a taxes and subsidies and policy regulations and quantity regulations. Okay, so let's think about the quota, which is kinds of quantity regulation. So there are quotas for quantity control. Okay, so at this point, we have the daily loss occurs. Okay, I will think about. Anyways, government regulations. There's a tax, subsidy, quota, right? If we think about quota in here, your quota is to restrict the quantity, right? So where is the restrict line? In here. Press the left of the equilibrium point, right? So in this point, they restrict the quantity. So what happens? Consumers would like to pay up to this price, and sellers would like to sell above this price, right? So If we think about economic surplus, okay, at first, without this kind of a quota, okay, we have the consumer surplus and this amount, right? At the same time, we have product surplus and this amount, right? But in this case, government imposed the quota in here. So what happens? Consumer surplus is become less here. At the same time, product surplus become less, like this. Okay. So who can take this amount, this triangle? No one gets, right? Because of the restriction of quantity. Okay. So this amount is kinds of loose. So we can call it as dead weight loose. Okay. Dead weight loose is the areas where no one cares, or no one gets. Okay. So that is the dead weight loose. That's like dead weight loose. So these kinds of dead weight loose cause inefficient outcomes. Okay. Okay, but the government intervention does not always succeed. Okay, this is called government failure when the worst result comes despite government interventions. Okay, so the government failure is caused by the three things. The first one is political self-interest. Okay, political self-interest causes the crush the policy, even though it is good policy, right? And second one is imperfect information. Okay, so this one is the kinds of asymmetric information. Okay? So as you know that these kinds of asymmetric information cause side effects. The final one is high administrative and enforcement cost. Okay, the government usually spend administrative and enforcement cost for making the policy. Okay, so these kinds of things create the unexpected high cost, right? So in this case, unexpected cost. Okay.
Okay, so that's all to chapter 7. Okay, see you next lecture. Thank you.